welcome back. It's me, Lou. I'm here for another toy haul video. Alright, so first off, I noticed I'm wearing the same shirt, I think, that I wore in my last video. It was still clean, and I just grabbed it. I don't know. I'm not that scummy and dirty. I change my clothes on a regular basis. Alright, so I went on a little toy haul today. I visited a secondhand collectible toy store. I think it's out in Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's called Geek Toy Hut. They have a pretty nice selection out there, and while I was there, I grabbed a couple of fun things. First up, this is something I've been looking for forever. We have the Walmart exclusive Avengers, Marvel Legends, Captain America. This is a much older action figure that came out way back in 2011, which blows my mind. So this figure, the engineering is very different than a modern Marvel Legends, especially around the hip joint right there. You'll notice that it's a ball joint at the hip as opposed to what we get nowadays. It's a much more antiquated style of articulation that was more common in like the Toy Biz Marvel Legends. This is an action figure, like I said, I've been wanting for such a long time. I remember back in the day when Walmart had these, I could never find the Captain America, and I was pretty stoked to find them. And I got them for only 25 bucks, which for me, I think it's a pretty fair price. So we have Cap as he appears in the MCU Avengers film, the first one. And it's a costume design I like a lot. It retains the bright colors of like the comic books, but the costume itself is a little bit more grounded in reality. It's a little bit more utilitarian, and I don't know, for me, this is like one of my favorite Cap costumes in all of the Avengers films. So yeah, very stoked on this. Some other figures in this collection include Iron Man, the Hulk, Hawkeye, Loki, and then Thor. Like I said, this figure is pretty old. Came out way back in 2011. So you're looking at a figure that's 15 years old, which completely blows my mind. Up next, I got this. I don't think anyone remembers these. This came out way back in 1984. It's a model kit. It's called a Mira kit, and this was the X-Wing from Return of the Jedi. This came out back in 1984. Recently, I got my brother one of these model kits, but it was for the Shuttle Tidarium. And it blew my mind that they had this in the store, because you never, ever see these anywhere. And when you do, they're kind of expensive on the secondary market. So the idea behind the Mira kit is that it's only half of the model. And then you put it against a mirror, which is included, and then it recreates the full model. It's a nice display piece that could be hung up on the wall, but yeah, I saw this. I just had to get it. It was only $8. Again, these are very hard to come by. And just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got my brother the Shuttle Tidarium, because he had that as a kid growing up, and I thought I'd gift it to him. And when I saw this, I'm like, you know, it's no coincidence. These things are impossible to find. You know, what are the odds of me finding another kit in the wild? So I grabbed this. Another thing I grabbed, this is kind of a holy grail item. Not a holy grail in the sense that it's worth a lot of money, but for me, it's an action figure that I had back in the day, and I sold it, and I regretted it ever since. So we have the G.I. Joe Quick Kick, and this is an awesome version of Quick Kick. This entire line of the 4-inch G.I. Joes in this style, from this theme, was just simply amazing. This came out way back in 2010. So this thing is 16 years old, which blows my mind again. This line of action figures in the G.I. Joe line, I believe it was the successor to the Pursuit of Cobra, which was the successor line to the first live-action G.I. Joe film. And if you're a collector of the 4-inch figures back then, the quality of the figures were amazing. The package design was just gorgeous. And the Pursuit of Cobra line is one of my favorite lines of G.I. Joe, period. That includes a Real American Hero, classified series, you name it. The Pursuit of Cobra, I thought, was like the epitome of like perfect G.I. Joe. And this line that followed afterwards was only available at Toys R Us. And I had a pretty solid run of these figures, but years ago I sold them, and I regretted it ever since. And a lot of these figures on the secondary market go for pretty high prices, like anywhere between like $30 to $50, depending on the figure. And this Quick Kick I got for only 20 bucks. And the cool thing about him is Quick Kick, but he's wearing the Cobra Kai outfit from Karate Kid. So it's kind of cool because Quick Kick, if you watch the old 80s cartoon, he's always rambling on and like using phrases from like Hollywood TV shows and movies and stuff. So it seemed very appropriate that they'd put him in the Karate Kid Cobra Kai outfit. And it's awesome, and I'm so stoked to add this to my collection. Also, I got a bunch of loose figures. Excuse me. I still have allergies or a cold. I found this in the loose figure bin, and I couldn't say no. It's a Toy Biz Cyclops figure. And I know that everyone's gaga over like the modern day Hasbro Marvel Legends, but for me, there's just something very charming and unique and definitely fun about some of the older Toy Biz figures. A figure like this, I kind of feel like it's when Toy Biz was hitting their stride. Not necessarily in terms of articulation, but just in terms of playability and presentation. Like this figure, it's so dynamically posed. It looks like Cyclops. And if you've read the comic books, you know, he's always kind of like this troubled character. You know, he's a well-respected leader of the X-Men, but at the same time, you know, I think he's always played second fiddle to like Storm and Wolverine. And with the upcoming Avengers Doomsday film, there's that one scene in the trailer where Cyclops is just like falls on his knees and he just emits his optic blast in like complete agony and anger, which is very appropriate of the character. And I kind of like this figure a lot because it kind of captures that frustration and anger and angst that Cyclops harbors, you know, at some times. And it's so cool how it's dynamically posed. And he's wearing the, you know, the 92 Jim Lee X-Men outfit, which for many people is, you know, the definitive Cyclops look. The figure's awesome. Articulation of the head, the arms, the swivels, and the legs. Again, much smaller and not as detailed or articulated or as well engineered as a modern figure. But for me, like I said, there's just something very charming about these older Toy Biz figures, which I think is just awesome. I was digging around the loose figure bin and I came across this. We have a Kenner Predator figure. You know, it's missing the accessories and the mask. I have this figure, I think, like 4 times over. whenever I see loose Predator or Alien figures out in the wild, and if they're like cheap, like $5, I'll just grab them. This guy is pretty cool. Kind of has like this whiplash action feature. And it's not a traditional Predator design from like the movies. You know, the Kenner line, they kind of had their own designs, but you know, they still feel very much in line with like the lore and the other fictions, like the comic books. And this is about like a 5.5 inch tall action figure. And I also saw this from the Cousin line, also produced by Kenner. We have the Aliens Sergeant Apone figure. Again, he's missing all his accessories, but you know, I love these Aliens Predator figures. And even the Terminator line that came out a few years later, I love those too. Cool little figure. Articulation, very basic. Swivels, arms move, legs move. Just 5 points plus a swivel at the waist, which is spring-loaded. And then I found another Kenner Alien figure. This was from Alien Resurrection. We have the Ellen Ripley. So this is when, at this point in time, the collector market was really booming, and then McFarlane Toys really raised the bar in terms of like action figures, and everyone else was playing catch up. And then Kenner, you know, they kind of released this premium line of like Alien figures for the movie, and then this was the Ellen Ripley, much larger than their traditional offerings, you know, like what you see right here. Unfortunately, this figure isn't articulated that much either. Keep in mind, in the mid-90s, late 90s, and even early 2000s, articulation, it was important, but it wasn't as important as, I think, presentation. That's why a lot of action figures, especially aimed at collectors, produced during the mid to late 90s, they're almost more like miniature statues. And this kind of hits that middle ground where it's more detailed than a 5-inch figure, but it doesn't have a whole lot of articulation. and it's a lot larger too. This is probably like at a 6 or 6 3/4 scale. The likeness to Sigourney Weaver isn't the greatest, but it's still a very realistic portrayal of the character. And she's missing her weapon. And if I remember correctly, I did review this figure, I think, in my YouTube channel. So you might want to seek that out. I think she came with, I want to say the flamethrower or the pulse rifle. I can't remember. But it's a cool figure. You know, I have a bunch of the NECA alien figures, and I think this would look kind of neat next to it, or next to them. And then, still going on this aliens kick, I found this in the display case at the shop. It's a small little queen alien, but it's like a digital watch, and the watch displays in the chest. I had this years ago, and I think, if I remember correctly, the tail's a bendy tail, and you can actually wear it like a watch, like this. You know, well, my friend JC gave this to me years ago, and I know I didn't throw it out. It's just lost. I just don't know where in my house, where it's at. And when I saw this for $6, I'm like, I need to get this. It's pretty neat. It's about twice the size of like a Lego minifig, and it just looks really, really cool. You know, it has a bendy tail. The watch display, I don't know how you swap out batteries, if it's even possible. And then I saw this in the display case for $12. Now, let me remove the price tag. It's on the forehead. Give me a moment. This is from Kenner also. It's another alien figure. We have the alien xenomorph. I think this is the plain drone. And the design of this one is, it's not the big chap. This is based off of the design, I think, in the second film, Aliens, the James Cameron one. This figure saw multiple releases in the Kenner line, and it'd often be sometimes repainted. But this is cool because I found this the plain, smoky, gray, black one. You know, the very iconic looking alien. And it looks cool next to the Predator. You know, if you're into AVP. Or if you want Sergeant Apone next to it. Alright, so my adventure didn't end there. I drove all the way out to Mount Prospect, Illinois. And I visited the legendary Games Plus store. And Games Plus, they specialize in like board games, tabletop games, RPGs. Warhammer especially, and I'm a Warhammer nut, and I bought this. This is a pre-painted Gothic Sector Warehouse Small Ruins. So if you're into like tabletop gaming, Warhammer, and you need terrain, and you don't feel like painting the terrain, this is a nice option. This one ran me $35, and you get 3 sizable pieces of painted terrain. And the Gothic Sector stuff by Gale Force 9 is really nice. I actually have a solid collection of these, and I hope to do a review in the future. Like I said, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I'm really into Warhammer, but it's just one of those things I haven't covered on my YouTube all that well. Likewise, I'm really heavy into Lego, and I don't cover Lego that much either. So I'm looking to branch out when I have time to cover more Warhammer, cover more Lego and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much my haul for today. Again, very stoked on this guy right here. This is something I've been wanting for such a long time. It's not as well engineered or as designed as a modern Marvel Legends figure, but you know, this figure just has a special place in my heart. I have such fond memories of the first Avengers film. You know, my brother and a bunch of our buddies went to one of the fancier theaters to go see it. And that theater is decked out with like a full bar, you know, pool tables, the whole shebang, and the seating was just amazing. This is like the prime of when going to movies was awesome. And then we even dressed up in cosplay. I dressed up as Cap. One of my buddies dressed up as Thor. Another one dressed up as Iron Man. And it was a really fun time. This was like back in 2011 too. So I don't know. It was pretty rocking. All right, so let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.